Welcome to day 51 on the trail. We have 5 readings for today from Acts chapter 5 verses 17 through 42, Exodus 24 verses 1 through 18, the 60th Psalm, Job chapter 27, and the Wisdom of Solomon chapter 1 verses 16 through chapter 2 verse 24. I would like to begin today by noticing how the reasoning of those who have decided not to follow God, given in our passage from the Wisdom of Solomon, has not changed much in 2,000 years. First, according to the author, the ungodly note that life is short, and there's nothing much beyond this life. In verse 3, they say, "When life is extinguished, the body will turn to ashes, and the spirit will dissolve like empty air." They say, "We will be forgotten, erased from time and memory." And in verse 5, "For our allotted time is the passing of a shadow, and there is no return from our death, because it is sealed up and not one turns back." Their second point is that because this life is all we have, we should fully seize the time we have for ourselves. Pleasure and ambition become the highest goals. Those around us become either a means to our quest for pleasure or an opposition to it. Verse 10 says, "Let us oppress the righteous poor man. Let us not spare the wisdom or regard the gray hairs of the aged." Their third point, then, is that those who challenge their worldview should be met with resistance and opposition. Verse 12, "Let us lie in wait for the righteous man, because he is inconvenient to us and opposes our actions." And in verse 14, "He, the righteous, become to us a reproof of our thoughts. The very sight of him is a burden to us, because his manner of life is unlike that of others, and his ways are strange." And now finally, even the very presence of people who do not share their worldview should lead to humiliation and violence. Verse 17, "Let us see if his words are true, and let us test what will happen at the end of his life. For the righteous man is God's child. He will help him and will deliver him from the hand of his adversaries." This last statement is echoed by the crowd gathered around Jesus during his crucifixion. In Matthew 27, beginning in verse 42, the crowd shouts out, "He saved others. He cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down from the cross now, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God deliver him now, if he wants to. For he said, 'I am God's son.'" However, the Wisdom of Solomon leaves us with hope. Beginning in verse 23, "God created us for incorruption and made us in the image of his own eternity. But through the devil's envy, death entered the world, and those who belong to his company experience it." In Exodus 24, Moses ascends Mount Sinai and spends 40 days and nights with God. I would like to make note of this connection with the 40 days and 40 nights that Jesus spent fasting in the wilderness during the temptation narrative found in Matthew 4. As we will see in our exploration of the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus is connected to Moses, as he is the giver of the new covenant and the one who will set his people free from slavery to sin and death. And finally, in Acts chapter 5, we have a record of Gamaliel's speech to the Jewish council following the arrest of the apostles. We learn in Acts 22 verse 3 that Gamaliel was Paul's teacher. However, despite Paul's initial resistance and persecution of the church, Gamaliel has a more practical approach. Beginning in verse 38, "So in the present case I tell you, keep away from these men and let them alone. Because if this plan or this undertaking is of human origin, it will fail. But if it is of God, you will not be able to overthrow them. In that case, you may even be found fighting against God. However, Despite Gamaliel's words, the council has the apostles flogged and commanded them not to speak in the name of Jesus before releasing them. Despite this resistance, the message of Jesus continued to spread, and the church continued to grow. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, stay on the trail.